Debris over
You
here.
could, it's like, they're probably not.
Good evening and welcome to this regular session of the Lakeville Area Board of Education. This meeting is officially called to order. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board members in attendance tonight include Director Kelleher, Director Shinley, Director Lind, Chair Baker, Director Carly Anderson, and Director Thompson. The board is joined by Superintendent Dr. Doug Van Zyl, and members of the Executive Cabinet. We have Dr. Emily McDonald, Brenda Albrecht, Bill Holmgren, and Dave Haveman. I'll get there. So now we'll move on to the superintendent so he can tell us the good news for today.
All right, super. Appreciate that. Hopefully you all enjoy hot weather because that's what we have. So if it is, it's exactly what you're hoping for. So a couple items for you. A couple of them are staff related. So Principal Bet Domstra was named the NAESP State Representative. He is the principal at Lake Marion Elementary, and he's been an ESP stands for National Association of Elementary School Principals. He's the state representative for Minnesota Elementary School Principals Association. He will now serve as that liaison between NAESP and MESPA. We'll throw some more letters at you here shortly. Part of MESPA's executive committee and the chair on the Nationally Distinguished Principal Selection Committee, and as a resource for all MESPA members. So congratulations to Brett. So if you see him, please let him know that. And then we also have Dana Backley, sorry, almost got that wrong. She has been named the Nurse Administrator of the Year. So Lakeville Area Schools would like to recognize her as a school nurse for Minnesota as a School Nurse Administrator of the Year. This award recognizes one school nurse annually who has demonstrated excellence in school nursing practice and administrative leadership in school health. So congratulations to Danae. We appreciate all of her hard work. So if you see her and Brett, please let them know.
Awesome. Love to hear what our staff's doing. For board communications, we have a few different things that I'd like to talk about. The board worked through some meeting norms that we wanted to add to every meeting when the board meets. If you have the chance to open our agenda sometime, you can see that we have 5 words written at the top now. Be prepared, be engaged, respectful dialogue, no surprises, and one board, one voice. These were the norms that the board decided that we want to hold us accountable for all of our meetings. So that will be on there, and I'll try to bring that up at every meeting. Our public engagement sessions have been very active. The last one on the 15th, we had 2 different people come and present. Director Lynn, do you want to talk about that one?
Just quickly, it was 2 staff.
Mike.
My mic.
There you go.
Very quickly, it was 2 staff members that came, and they both had similar topics dealing with staff and students, mental health and well-being, and staff morale.
Okay, thank you. At the board development session tonight, we had, not board development, sorry, community engagement. We had 4 people that showed up for that. One was a community member talking about books in our, that are used in our curriculum and books in our library, and making sure that they're appropriate for the age level that they're serving in that building. And we also had some staff members and some parents talk with us about the digital learning specialist position across the district and what that looks like after the budget cuts. So that kind of sums up what we had for there. For board work, we have, the board has voted on and approved the superintendent evaluation goals and his rubric for next year, so we're working on that, and the board is also working on our own personal goals. We have the goals all lined up, and we're just kind of working on how we're going to measure our progress on that. So that kind of sums up the board work that we've done, at least over the summer. It's been kind of a long summer, so. As far as, we'll go ahead and move on to agenda additions. I have an agenda addition that I would like to add. We're going to put that under, I'm asking to put that under a recommended action, so it would be like letter B under a recommended action to appoint a clerk for the meeting. So when we get to recommended action, we can vote on that, but to add that, I obviously have to ask for a motion to add that to the agenda. So do we have a motion to add the appointment of a clerk for our meeting so that we can have notes and have things signed?
So moved.
For today. For today, temporary.
Today.
Thank you. For today. So we have a motion by Director Lind. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Director Schindley. Any discussion on that item? Again, this is only because Director David Anderson is not in attendance today, and there are some matters that we have that we would need to have signature on that.
The motion, so is the motion to temporarily assign the vice chair as clerk? Is that what you're making the motion?
Right now, I'm making the motion to add it as a recommended action for B, that we would add appointing a clerk for the meeting and vote on it during that.
That's what you want to add,
Correct.
to temporarily assign the vice chair as clerk. You want
Yes.
that topic added as recommended actions?
Yes, thank you for that clarification.
Okay, so,
It's a lot to take in.
yeah.
All right, so we've had any more questions on that item? All right, so we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor of adding this item for a recommended action, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, so now that we have that addition to the agenda, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion by Director Kelleher. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Director Lind. We'll open that up for discussion. Director Thompson, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to amend the motion to add public comment to the agenda, please.
So you're asking to add an item to the agenda?
Correct.
Public comment. Sorry, I'm taking notes. One of the things I'd like to add about that item is that it has been discussed by the board through our working sessions a couple different times. It was on the agenda for one of our working sessions, and because our session went long, we weren't able to fully discuss that item because there was additional information that I had specifically sought out and has not presented to the board yet. So I guess my request on that is that you withdraw that motion until we have time to discuss that through a working session and go through that information. Because we can't just bring, I think our discussion has always been that we would probably need to discuss how we bring back public comment and how that works with our public engagement session. So I think that the board needs more discussion on that. But I mean, if you want to make a motion, I can ask for a second too.
I like to keep the motion so that we
Okay.
can talk through it.
Okay. But we already have a motion. Okay, so do we have a second on the motion to add public comment to the agenda tonight?
Motion fails.
All right, so hearing none, would you be willing to withdraw your motion so that we could talk about it at a later date?
Does it, it
It just
just
dies.
dies.
Okay, all right, that's true.
That's okay.
Sorry. Thanks. All right, so we have a motion and a second on the table to approve the agenda. We've had some discussion, so let's go ahead and put it to a vote. All in favor of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, so now we'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items that board members would like to pull for further discussion? Director Thompson?
I'd like to pull item B and item C.
All right. Item B would be employment recommendations, leave requests, and resignations. And item C is payment of bills and claims. Are there any other items that board members would like to pull for further discussion? Okay. Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda minus items B and C at this time?
So moved.
So we have a motion by Director Carly Anderson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Director Lind. Any discussion on that? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, did you vote?
I said.
Okay, sorry, didn't hear you. Motion carries 6-0. So Director Thompson, let's start with item B, which is employment recommendations, leave requests, and resignations. Were there questions that you had on that item?
Yes, I got a couple questions. One, I saw that there was a list of 57 items on this, on the employment recommendation list. So I'm just looking to learn more around how that impacts the budget, how many resources should we be hiring? I'm looking through the dashboard and it says we've got 2231 FTEs. Last month, we were at about 21. And I'm looking at the fiscal year 2023-24 budget, and it says that we should have a grand total of 1277. But again, this doesn't include casual coach advisors, stuff like that. So I'm just looking to learn more where I would assume you need the 57, but how many more are we needing to add? How many more are we expected to have? So those are my concerns or questions that I have.
Dr. Van Zyl, did you have something to add to that?
I'll have Brenda come up as well.
Okay.
But again, you remember, these are not positions, it can't be a new position added without approval of the board, so these are positions that were either adjusted due to budget reductions in part of that, or positions that needed to be filled because somebody left those particular positions. So it should be a budget neutral impact, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill. And then Brenda, anything else you want to add to that?
Brenda, can you turn?
I don't know if your mic is on, it may not, since you're the first speaker, it may not be on.
That's a good question.
Kim, will you check to see if they have that speaker on in the stand? Yep, now it is.
Okay. We haven't added any new positions. Everything that we have hired for the 23-24 school year has been positions that have been pre-approved by the school board through the budget.
Through the budget. So
Yes.
based on the 23 list, this is the max of FTEs that we're hiring, correct?
Right, and that, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but that could change as our enrollment changes. We have had to add a couple of positions in a couple of our buildings where the class size has exceeded the guidelines.
And my assumption is that the 57 that are on this list that are being recommended to hire makes sense with obviously the new school year beginning. How many open recs do we have remaining, or have we met and there's no more open recs and we've hired everyone that we needed to for this coming school year?
We still have a number of positions that are vacant. Do you know off the top of your head, Dave, how many we have in special ed? For teachers? For teachers?
7 paras, if I recall correctly.
7 paras? Yeah. Yeah.
So we're short-
And that's where the bulk of our vacancies are right now.
Okay, so we're short 11 overall
Roughly,
in FTEs.
yep.
Okay.
But you still try to hire those. Those stay posted, and our folks will keep trying to hire those
Right, right.
positions throughout the year.
Yep.
Director Thompson?
And just out of curiosity, what's the remediation plan? Do we call substitutes for those, or?
Yeah,
that
we'll,
works.
if we don't have the positions filled by the beginning of the year, we'll look at filling with a long-term sub, but we'll keep the positions posted until we have a permanent hire.
And then backfill that role?
Yeah.
And it also still depends on what their certification is, because like if there's a special needs student that isn't able to receive some resources, then those services still have to be provided. So we have to figure out either we add additional time when we hire somebody, or maybe something that could be done through the summer. And so that special ed area is a trickier area, and we're not the only district that's struggling with that. We're a lot better off than some, but not having everything's filled is still not where we want to be.
Yep, that makes sense.
Do you have any more questions on that item?
No, I appreciate that clarity. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Do we have a motion to vote on employment recommendations, leave requests, and resignations?
So moved.
Right, so we have a motion by Director Carly Anderson. Do we have a second?
Second. You good?
Second by Director Shinley. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 6-0 to approve employment recommendations, leave requests, and resignations. Item C, Director Thompson, was payment of bills and claims. What were your questions on that item?
Yeah, just looking for, again, some more clarity. I see that we are asked to approve $9.6 million to be paid out. Looking to learn more around, were we expecting to spend $9.6 million? Were we expected to spend $10.6 million? Are we over or under from a budgetary perspective so that we can provide governance?
$9 million on a monthly basis is pretty normal. At the end of the year, we tend to get a little bigger amount. Some of these expenditures are in the new year. Some of these expenditures are invoices we're receiving from last year and we're catching up. Overall, in fiscal year '23, we are actually under our budget by a small portion, so these all fit within that budget.
Okay.
I would also add, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, when you say, normally our budget every month is very similar, but when we get to the end of the year, we have TDE, Q comp, we have some other hours that we're paying staff that they've accumulated through the year that get paid out. So normally our end of the year, June, July, August can run a little bit higher than our other months. Would that be accurate?
Especially if you look at the payroll side. The way that we pay, we start paying teachers in September, and we split it over a 12-month period. When we get to June, the end of June, we pay all that amount out. So the teachers get paid for June, July, and August, all in June, because we want all that posted to the current fiscal year. So you see a big increase in our payroll items. And another good example is a TDE was just paid out here this last week. It takes time for them to go through and make sure we have everybody getting the right amount of TDE amount.
Director Thompson?
So the dates registered is July 19th through August 15th. This is the beginning of the new fiscal year, correct?
Much of it's the new year.
Okay.
But it is split. If you look at the dates on the checks,
Yep.
They'll be in 2 different years.
Go ahead.
So I know that we're fiscally below what we were projected to do at the end of the year, but for this particular section or this month, were we expecting to spend $9.6 million, or were we expected to spend less than that?
I see we're right on where we expected. Again, we are under budget for fiscal year '23 at this point in time.
Okay, so then if we're spending what we're supposed to spend, then I would assume we would be flat. So I don't know how we're under budget if we're,
I'm talking about fiscal year '23, okay?
23 is last year's budget.
Yep.
We're in fiscal year '24.
24, right. So the
Some of
date
these-
registered, is this for 24 then?
Some of these expenditures are fiscal '23, some of the expenditures are in fiscal '24.
Okay.
Depending on the timing when we receive the invoice. If we did some work or did something in May, and we just got to receive the invoice now, that'll be posted to the year before, because we have to match the revenue with the expenditure in the year that it happened.
Okay. So again, I think this is where my confusion is, because while there's a dollar amount that needs to be approved, I don't have any way to say, okay, that's how much we should be approving, that's how much we should be spending. So that is something I'm hoping that we can figure out how to close in future meetings, so. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions from board members on that item?
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. All right, do I have a motion to approve item C, payment of bills and claims?
So moved.
We have a motion by Director Lind. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Director Carly Anderson. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, the next item on the agenda is reports, and I have that we have summer review by Emily, Dave, Bill, and Brenda.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Van Zyl, and
members of the executive cabinet who will be joining me shortly. We wanted to take just a brief opportunity to share with you some of the highlights of things that have been going on over the summer. I know from the outside, although you see a lot of kids coming in and out of our buildings and teachers as well, summer can be the busiest time for, depending on what exactly your role and job is. So we thought we would just package it all nicely and give you the 30,000-foot view of some of the things that have been happening. I will note that this is not comprehensive by any means. There is so much work that happens over the summer to make sure that not only are we finishing the year strong, but also getting prepared for the arrival of our students, which is happening really soon, so I'm really getting excited about that. So I'm going to kick it off. Am I driving?
I think he is.
Click on this one.
Yep. Perfect. You know, as teachers and educators, we always have to monitor and adjust. Well, I'm not going to deal with that right now. I will just get on with my presentation. So I'll start with a little bit of a teaching and learning update. I'll start with sort of the big ticket items. We obviously just completed our new teacher training. We had over 40 staff members that were available to come to our new teacher training. That was on Monday and Tuesday. It was a fabulous event, a lot of energy in the room. We got an opportunity to not only welcome our new staff, but engage with them in some learning about our district. We started with the strategic plan, everything from mandated reporting and special education services and business services provided support for our teachers over the past 2 days. We know that this will not be the only opportunity we'll have to work with our new teachers, but it was nice to have them all in the room and just celebrate them joining our ranks here in Lakeville. The other thing that we had earlier this month in August were our leadership days. So we spent 3 days with our leaders and their building leadership teams and really set the stage around what are their goals for the year, what kind of data are we looking at, what kind of data are we going to collect, and then them doing some action planning around improvement. It was a really powerful 3 days. There was a lot of learning and a lot of collaborating between the district office and the building teams. And a shout out to our principals who just did an excellent job of facilitating those meetings with their individual buildings. So to get on to curriculum writing, as you know, based on some changes we made in the spring due to budget cuts, we had a significant amount of rewriting and reorganizing to do, particularly at the middle level. So I'm excited to report that we have newly written courses in 3 classes, Media Arts, Health 6, and Music Exploration. We also have adjusted all of our courses to fit into the wheel model for Intro to Spanish, STEM, Facts, and Visual Arts. I give credit to our directors of teaching and learning as well as the teachers who came in the summer to do this writing and really provide their expertise. We also had adjustments to grades 6, 7, ELA, and literacy. You'll hear more about that over the course of the year. I know you're familiar with the READ Act, but we really have a core focus at the middle level this year around ELA and literacy. So more to come there, but it's really, really exciting work. And at the elementary, we did STEM for kindergarten, which is amazing. Music and art, redeveloped some Ignite units for the gifted program. 6-8 science and high school biology were on the docket from MDE. And then Lakeville Online Academy, which moved away from their Stride curriculum to teacher-developed Lakeville curriculum, which not only saves us money, but also really aligns much better to what we're doing here in Lakeville. And then I'll finish with just a couple of highlights from Equity Services and Technology. Technology's list of accomplishments this summer is extensive, but some things to highlight are they collected all 12,000 iPads and then they prepared 12,000 iPads to deploy when the students return. They supported really moving all of the tech from the ALC to the new Lakeville Pathways Academy over at KTMS. We're able to upgrade some classroom AV that really needed it so that teachers have the tools that they need to be able to teach. They provided quite a number of trainings for our office managers, so really engaging with them on how to best utilize and most efficiently utilize their technology. They are working on fiber for Highview, all the behind-the-scenes stuff that we don't think about when we walk in the building. And then, as I said, a significant number of systems and infrastructure reports that I'm sure at some point we'll share a little more detail around. And then finally, for equity services, in collaboration with our building principals and building staff, they did quite a number of outreach events this summer. So we were actually on site, different locations, meeting students, families, getting them signed up for campus and teaching them how to utilize the technology and fill out the forms. They had interpreters present where needed, and it was really cool. Part of that work was that we had the return of the Smart Bus. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Smart Bus, Schmitty's was kind enough to donate a school bus to us. Once they reach a certain age, they have to come out of circulation, and they can no longer have students riding in them. So they donated a bus. This is quite a number of years ago. We stripped the whole inside of the bus. We made it a mobile learning space, and then someone donated a wrap. So there's a wrap around the bus that says Lakeville School. It's really neat. We'll have to show you some pictures. But it has been out of service for a couple of years, and so we reignited that. Lydia Linso really was a driver behind that, so we could take it in to the neighborhoods, and we could have access. It's Wi-Fi ready, so we would have space, and we would have Wi-Fi for folks that needed it. And then finally, spent a lot of time working on our career and college readiness person that will be supporting our students that were previously in AVID, as well as other students that might want or need some additional support in that area. So more to come on that. So that's a quick wrap up as we get the PowerPoint back going, and I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Dave Haveman to talk about special services.
Perfect. Thank you. Are we good to go? Perfect. Chair Baker, directors, Dr. Van Zyl, good to be here again. Thank you for having us here tonight. So the Department of Student Services has a wide scope of what we do in our department, from special ed to homeless families and how we educate them and bring them in, to EL, targeted services, mental health, SEL, you name it. We've got nursing services. We've got a wide scope that we cover. And so I asked my two directors that work in our department to come up and give a quick update, and they were charged with making it quick when it came to a couple slides, because we do have a lot going on in the summer in all this with regard to student services in the summer programming and leadership. So my kids ask me all the time, what do you do all summer long, Dad, when kids aren't here? Well, you're about to hear all the things that we get to do, and these two have led the way. So you get to meet Megan Blazik, who's our director of MTSS, and a lot of people ask all the time, what is a director of MTSS? You'll learn that in just a minute. And then Carol Potter is our new director of special services, and so I will kick it off to them.
Okay. Well, thank you for having us here this evening so we can share a little bit about the work that we've been doing. We've been really busy this summer. I'm going to take you back a little bit further just to give some context around MTSS and what our journey has been over the last year. We put together a task force that included building and district administrators and school support staff. It ranged from elementary counselors to school psychs and various different positions across our entire system, pre-K-12, that came together to do a number of things. Their first task was to link our strategic plan to Minnesota MTSS, which has 5 components. And through that, they created the Lakeville framework, which you see at the bottom of this slide. Some of you have been part of, I know it's super tiny. I was told to keep it short. No. You will see it a lot more. And some of you have seen it at some of our different, like TLAC and DSLT. We have been sharing this over the course of the year. We then set out and organized the district's operational plan around our 5 components. This was a huge undertaking. Every district department has put their work into the operational plan, and site standard work has been set for all of our sites. Finally, they developed a continuous improvement process for both our district teams and our site teams to complete, and that is what happened with our first phase of schools on August 8th and 9th, which was some really exciting days. And the conversations I can tell you that those schools had were absolutely amazing. So I'm pretty excited to see these improvement plans come to life this year. They were written by both principals, as Emily had mentioned, and their site leadership teams that had members from their SLTs, their building equity leads, and their SEL team members. So they're really powerful plans that they have put into place. And then finally, we will be rolling out to all of our staff an introduction to Minnesota MTSS and our Lakeville framework during workshop week. And all of our principals have been working with me on that presentation. And we are excited to have some common language around what is MTSS as we continue to move forward. So I got to get the right computer here. Okay, the other thing that I have, my team has been working on is our student management handbook. And I have spoken to a number of you about that, and I was here last September with the draft version of our student management handbook that we used last year. We went through a really robust process over the course of last school year where all district and building leaders came in monthly to a cohort where we did some professional learning and we provided feedback on the behavior matrix and our processes that we use here in the district. We have a steering committee that then this summer met to go through all of the feedback, refine those processes, and make sure that they align to the new legislation that just came out this spring around student discipline. And so we feel very prepared for the start of the school year. We have had a lot of conversations about the intent of that legislation and how we are going to best serve our kids through our student management. If you dig into the handbook, what you will see is it does define the responses and disciplinary actions. We have divided those out. It defines what major behaviors are, and it gives a recommended progression of responses and disciplinary actions based on that behavior.
Does that include our bullying policy, and how those types of incidents are handled?
Yes, so there is we have defined bullying and harassment and given a recommended progression of responses and disciplinary action to that.
Director Thompson, did you have a question?
Yeah, can you explain what IST stands for? I see it says referral to IST, and it's like, I don't know what that means.
Yes.
I'm just curious. I'm not in this.
I don't know where you see, you're seeing that in the handbook.
I am.
Picture, okay,
Yeah.
there we go. IST is a team, an intervention team, that meets to look at individual student needs and design interventions specific to the needs that the student is demonstrating. So if we are seeing a need from a behavior standpoint, we would want that team to look at that, come around the student and the staff that are working with them to develop the appropriate intervention to help that student with their learning around it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just one follow-up question is that, so do parents get informed when an IST is, because I see it as a second row, so I wasn't sure if that's also
Yeah.
activated at the same time.
Yeah. If anything is considered a major behavior, parents will be informed, and they are a vital piece of an IST process because they have a lot of information. They know their kid better than anybody, right? So we would want them to be giving us feedback and information about their child through that process as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so that's some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that is happening in my team, but we had some really fun stuff happening. So in my team, we run summer targeted services. We served over 600 students pre-K through 8th grade this summer in our summer targeted services, which was really awesome. We did it both in buildings and at different community locations. This was spearheaded by Janet McBride. She did an absolutely amazing job. These are just a few of the fun pictures that she sent to us. We also partnered with local businesses to provide enrichment experiences, and so some really cool things happened, like they took cooking classes at Hy-Vee, they went to the Lakeville Arts Center and did some dancing and made masks. We went out to safety signs, the airport, and then McDonald Eye Care, just a couple of the really cool opportunities that our kids had the opportunity to, or experiences they were able to have. And we want to acknowledge and thank the 80 Lakeville staff members who came in over the summer and helped us set up all those students to be successful here this fall.
For targeted services, do they get, is that part of like a lunch and snack program too, or breakfast?
Yeah, so they were all provided a snack during the day. They did not provide a lunch, but yes, we did have snacks provided for students. It is not a full day program, so. And then the last highlight from my department is our English language learners. We have a couple really fun facts that Megan Rakowski shared with me. We have 83 languages spoken in our district. and 2,100 multilingual students. Those are pretty cool facts to see that. You can see the top 10 languages other than English spoken within our district. And just some other fun numbers is last year we served 639 students in our EL program, which was up from 404 the year before. Registration is still happening, so I don't have a current number for you because we find a lot of those registrations happen around this time. She is very busy doing that right now. The other number that is interesting is our recently arrived English learners increased 40% last year. And so one of the things you will see is we are hiring 3 25-hours a week tutors to support our recently arrived English learners. They are students who really need that one-on-one support as they enter our buildings, just to help with that transition. And so these are going to be really vital positions to our EL department. And then finally, she's going to roll out elevation strategies to all staff. This is for all classrooms to help meet the needs of our EL students that are in all of our classrooms. There'll be professional development opportunities and a lot of information rolled out throughout the year from our EL department. Okay, and I'm going to pass it on to Carol. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Carly.
It's okay, please. So thank you for all the work you're doing on, I mean, all of this is great. It's really great to hear about the student handbook coming out, or it's out now.
It will be ready. It is at legal counsel right now, so it will be ready for the first day of school. And we did go through it and prepared all of our leadership during our leadership retreat on August 7th. So principals and everyone are ready to go.
So I guess my question is, are we going to get updates? This is a big change, I feel like, for the district. Are we going to get updates periodically about how things are going?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we'll continue to update. Our steering committee plans to meet quarterly to look at our data. That was a big part of this, is how we're tracking our what's happening and what our interventions and responses are.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dr. Van Zyl?
Also, when you get your district dashboard, there's going to be some data on there in regards to discipline within the school, so you'll have some of that information. And we're going to share that on the 19th, September 19th. So everything will be up and running, so you'll be able to see there's academics, there's disciplinary things, there's attendance, there's multiple layers to it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, sounds good.
Director Thompson, did you have a question?
Yeah, just a comment regarding the staffing ratios. You added 3 25-hour-a-week tutors. Is that enough? I mean, and when I look at the 639 students that we had last year, assuming maybe just have a 10% bump or so, you're still looking at 700 plus. And so I know that there were some budget changes we did earlier in the beginning to accommodate funding to go into English learning languages. Just want to make sure we have do you need more?
Yeah, so some of the budget cuts that we made last year were to pay for what we already saw as an increase. So we had built in those positions from some of those cuts or shifts around. To your question, probably not. So like we have enough needs that we are going to be coming back to. In fact, it's on my agenda to talk with both Bill and Doug tomorrow about like where the needs are at with incoming EL students right now, to look at where we can maybe make some bumps because of the recent enrollments. So that's to be determined in terms of different ways we could do that. We've been relatively unsuccessful finding licensed teachers in that area right now, so that's why we've gone with tutors and unlicensed folks that get trained to do this work, so we've been more successful finding folks to do it that way. Yep, thanks for the question.
Director Kelleher, did you have something?
So Megan, I have a question. I can't remember. How do you connect with what's changing with our ELL learners and their parents and their families? Because I know Community Ed does programs to help support them. So are you helping them to make the connection to all the changes that we're having so that they can keep their programs current?
Yeah, so the teaching staff are part of all of our professional development, and Megan Rakowski leads our EL department, and she does have routine training and professional development with them as well. And so, yeah, they are doing a lot of that, and then this elevation strategies will be for all staff, which helps us with beyond just our EL department, helping get resources and tools to all of the staff to be able to meet the students' needs.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to pass it over now to Carol Potter, our new Director of Special Services.
Welcome to Lakeville, Carol.
Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me tonight. This is excellent. So I've been here about 7 weeks, and my first exposure in Lakeville was attending ESY, so extended school year at both Lakeville Elementary and North High School. Oh, it's always so great to be with the students, and I tell you, the teachers had just wonderful things going on, and so it was just a great kickoff for me to be here. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we have going on in special education. So Megan shared with you the operational plan, the district operational plan, and so our goal as a department, a special education department, was to write key pieces, write key goals, how we were connected to the whole district plan. And so what we did, we wrote 4 goals, as you see on the screen. And so the first one is, we wanted to write a goal that we had some very specific procedures for all of our service provision. So however we were going to be providing service to students, we wanted to have it in writing so that we could be consistent. Consistency is one of our themes for the year. And so most of our goals are written around how do we do that? How do we stay consistent? And so the second goal is to have a common guidance to promote consistency in instructional practices. So the first one was for service provision, around related services, and the second one was our instructional practice. So how do we teach kids every single day with consistency? The third goal is that special education would like to be fully involved in our professional development calendar. So as we move forward and design those calendars, how do we get embedded into those calendars so we can achieve goals 1 and 2? And then goal 4 is really around consistent progress, writing consistent progress reports. It was one of our areas that I have found and have been told that needed a little bit more work, that we needed to do it more consistently and write very specifically around kids' goals and objectives. So these are the 4 ways that we're going to embed our work in the big district plan this year. And then Brian stole my thunder a little bit earlier. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to ask a question around, can you share again, what is the percentage of our students that fall in that special education bucket? I believe I recall, was it like 10% or was it actually 20?
Yeah.
I think it's
Is it
like
higher?
16%. when you
16%?
go out.
14%.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's a big number, so almost over 2,000 students fall within, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Okay, so Brian, you had asked this question a little bit earlier about the staffing, and so I can tell you about that. The director who was in my spot before, Sharon Krieger, she agreed to stay on during the month of July to help support that process because there were a lot of openings in June. And so we started with licensed staff openings, 35.5 positions in special education alone, opened in June. But we have filled 31.5. So we're doing well. And to answer the question about how are we going to do that? And so we are going to continue to hire. As soon as someone comes in the pool, we are looking at those folks. And we are also recruiting Tier 1 teachers, so they may have applied in a different pool. So let's say they went into the social work pool, or maybe a high school social studies person that maybe we didn't need at that time, but they're available. We're calling them to say, hey, how would you like to be a special education teacher? We will train you. And so we have lots of ways that we are looking for people and still looking. So if anybody's looking for a spot, please let me know. And then on the non-licensed staff, so our para-educators, we had 28 openings beginning in June, and we have filled 21. So we have about 7 spots left to fill there. And again, we're doing a couple of interviews tomorrow, and we anticipate that it'll be ongoing throughout the year, that we might be full, and then all of a sudden, we're looking for spots again throughout the year. And then in addition to these staffing positions, we also hired a licensed school nurse and 2 building nurses this summer as well. So summer has been filled with lots of staffing needs. Any questions on those 2 pieces? Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, Carol.
All right, I guess I'm going to hand this off to Brenda next. What's that?
I don't have any slides,
All right.
so we're good to go. All right, so I am going to share some numbers with you. Summer is our busy time in our department with hiring and making sure that we have quality people in seats ready to teach kids on the first day of school. So from July 1st through August 17th, so roughly 6 weeks or so, Human Resources processed 795 transactions. We posted 137 job postings. We processed 349 changes of status. We processed 154 new hires and 67 resignations, retirements, and separations, and a total of 88 extended leaves of absence. So we were very busy over the summer, but we're doing the best that we can to make sure that we have these positions that we have left, that they're filled, and we have people ready to go on the first day of school. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
Good evening. I do have... Whoop, stay up there. Again, for my department too, we're very, very, very busy. So I'm going to take you through some of the projects that we did when it comes to the facilities. I actually have Mike Gallagher here tonight. He is our main coordinator when it looks like we're putting these projects together, and he's the one running around keeping the vendors on track and making sure we're getting done on time. Okay. I'm going to run through most of the buildings so you see what we touched on each one. So first of all, CHE, we did quite a bit of sidewalk repair. If you were over there at all, you saw a lot of cracks and some heaving. Took care of that. The brick facade on this building, of course, this is one of our older buildings, and it really needed some tuck pointing. So looking really good compared to how the age is. I went too fast. Here you can see a brand new drain basin over at Kleck. We've had a lot of damage when it comes to our cement work, but here this turns out really good. It's working very well. Over at CMS, in the team areas, you see they have all new flooring and furniture. It's looking very, very nice in that building also. I think we pretty much touched every building in some way. Over at CVE, of course, they have the big new addition. There's not a lot to do with a newer building, but we really had some cement issues. And you see here that we added or replaced quite a bit on the sidewalks. Now it's a lot safer place to walk in. We did it again. I'm used to using my mouse, so sorry about that. Here's over at Eastview Elementary School, same thing. We really repaired the sidewalks coming into the building. Of course, we have our new building going up. We will be opening this 1 year from now. It's coming together very well. Really, the outer shell of the building really truly is done. You'll see now we have asphalt, we have cement put in place. Now is to finish up here this fall. We get into the winter season. Here, of course, is the north side of the building. And here's one more view here from the east side. So anyway, very pleased with the progress. We are on schedule to get that building done on time without any rushing at the end. Over at JFK, PTO wanted to put some benches in, so we used our staff, worked with them. It worked out very nice. Now, if you look at that main door where you come in, where the students come in, there's benches now on both sides. Looks very nice. Over at JFK also is a school we've been doing a lot of work on. It's kind of a two-phase project. Last year we did about half the rooms. This year we did the other half. You see we have all new casework, flooring, plumbing, sinks, and it looks very good. There's 20 rooms that we touched in this way this past summer. Also over at JFK you'll see a brand new gym curtain. This will look exactly the same as what's going in the new building. And we have 3 restrooms that got remodeled. Over at KTMS, brand new roof. A very big piece of square footage that we covered. The timing was just right. A few months back, we actually had a big wind. We actually had some of this roof separate from the building. So the timing was very good to take care of it and to get it all buttoned back up together. The good thing is actually insurance paid us for part of that. So we didn't have to pay the full cost ourselves, so we were very pleased. Over at North High School here, you'll see the new cement work here on the sidewalks coming from the parking lot into the front end of the building. This is a two-phase piece too, if you remember going into that building. Right around that front door, there is some more cement work, which will be on next year's docket. We replaced all the seating, all the flooring in the auditorium there at North. That looks terrific if you haven't been in there yet. Turned out really nice. Tuck pointing too at North. As the buildings get a little old, they start to get loose between the bricks, so you have to keep after it. South, we repaired the tennis courts. If you were there at all, we had some pretty large cracks where it was really getting to the point where it was almost dangerous to play on them. So that's been repaired. They look terrific. Now, also at South, we've had issues in the spring, that very first hot, humid day.
Like today?
Yeah, well, that's not even this hot, but what happens is
Nothing has been like
it's still
today.
relatively cool, it's still relatively cool in there, and everybody's kind of hot, so they leave the doors open, and all that humidity comes and makes all the floors get all wet and slippery. So we've done a dehumidification process in that building, and it seems to be working very well. So I look forward to next spring and not having those wet floors in that first big tournament weekend. Over at McGuire, again, new flooring. This is a three-phase process in this building over the next 3 years. You see here in the main hallway, we have new flooring and carpet. They also received new lockers, and we have some rooms with new furniture too. So again, this building will see a total facelift over the 3-year period. Again, back behind McGuire, if you remember, this little trail was all broke up to this little tiny pieces, so it looks very good. The other thing that's happening at McGuire now, you'll see if you go over there now, it's just all dirt out here. We re-crowned that field, and we had a very, very nice donation from the South Football Booster Club. They really wanted that field to be nice to play their youth on, and it just really was hard. It was flat. But they have donated the money to put all the irrigation in. So now that will be an irrigated field in the future. Our only trick now is to make sure we don't have people running all over it next year, so we can get the turf kind of established. Oak Hills Elementary, if you remember walking in there the last year, that facade was just ugly. So it's all been
Tell us how you really feel.
Wade came to me many, many times, like, we have to fix this. So it's all repainted. You see some cement work here too. Also at Oak Hills on the back, if you ever went down the back door, that wall was just crumbling and falling down. So that's all been replaced and repaired. And we also put in new boilers, new softeners, and water heaters throughout that building. So they really had a nice facelift in that building also. Over at OLE, if you walked in there 2 weeks ago, you wonder how we would ever get done. It was just so much work going on. But we have brand new roof at OLE. We have half the building with new flooring and lockers. The other half will be done here this next year. And new windows. These windows were in desperate need of being replaced, and they turned out really terrific. Pathways, big project. We were rush, wanting to get it done, and it came together. And we have a few odds and ends to get done here this next week. But
The
it's really
board got
come
to tour
together.
this today.
Yeah,
So
I'm
it was-
sorry I missed the tour today.
Yeah, it was
but-
really exciting to see the work come together, and before school starts, the rebranding, the logos and everything. It's just, I couldn't even imagine it, so, yeah, thank you for all you guys.
It's nice when you can actually see it now. And here's one of the locker rooms we put back in for the middle school. They needed more locker room space, and that turned out really nice. So here's just another picture of the flooring. This was actually taken last week, so it looks a little better today as you look through that. And then doors. Our security project, we had quite a few doors to get finished up with our security project. Here we're putting the magnets in and all the electrified doors, both in JFK and OLE. So these buildings here, they're all coming online. Our security project is finished. So all these are be online and workable going to the beginning of the school year. Damien's got a lot of trainings going on with staff here this next week to have everybody prepared to use it.
What buildings are left?
This is the end.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
All the buildings are
So
covered
they're
now.
all going to be online as of the first day of school.
Good.
Yeah, COVID slowed us down a little bit during that process with labor, but now we do have them done. And that's all I have. Is there any questions?
Dr. Van Zyl?
You may just want to
You may just want to touch on the funding. I know we had LTFM up there, but people could maybe all those It was lit up. You may just want to touch on where the funding for that, I know every slide had LTFM, but you may just want to touch on that briefly.
Yeah. By far, the majority of the projects I showed you today are replacements or repairs that are eligible for funding from LTFM. The majority of that is. If you remember, for example, the new ALC, or pathways, the new pieces that went in there, we had to use capital dollars for that, because I can't use LTFM for anything that's new. So we have some money in there. And then, of course, here, finishing up the security, that is the bond sale we did way back in 19 to do this project. So now we're finishing up. So we had money to do all that, too. So came together really nice. We were getting kind of nervous one sometimes with that budget, but we made it to the end. So it looks very nice. It came out very, very good.
Any other questions from board members? Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, thank you.
I know people don't think dehumidifier and think good for student success.
Oh, it is.
But I will say that this dedicated team of people over there really does all of their work with the students at the center, whether it's making our grounds look beautiful or our buildings look beautiful, or making sure that we're processing staff in a timely fashion so we can keep the best of the best, or doing the hiring or training our administrators. It's amazing what these people do every day and why they do it. So I just want to give a shout out to the executive team and to all of the directors and the people that have worked tirelessly over the summer to make some things happen. And thank you for the opportunity to be able to share a little bit of that with you tonight. I just want to go to our last slide and wrap it up by saying, I know you are all aware that we have a big event coming up on Thursday, August 24th, from noon to 4 p.m. at Lakeville North High School. This is our Ready, Set, Achieve event. What you may or may not know is that we are celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Ready, Set, Achieve. This was a dream of Lisa Holine, and it started small, and our demand was always exceeded what we expected. And so it's become really, really an important part of what we do here to ensure that our students are ready and prepared for school. Certainly, we also have give a shout out to our community members. I'm sure you've seen on social media that this is all done through donations, and we have just seen an outpouring of support from organizations, businesses, individual community members, et cetera. So if you can join us, if anyone can join us, we always need a few more volunteers. So feel free to come on down to North, and we will put you to work. And we will look forward to welcoming all of our students on September 5th, which is literally my Christmas.
Do you remember how many kids we have served on average every year?
I want to say it's around 400, between 400 and 500.
Yep.
I would have to check with Lisa on exact numbers, but, it's available to anyone who is in our district who would like to come and participate. So, thank you.
She did tell me that in the last 10 years, we've served 7,000 students.
In the last
Over 10 years, 7,000 students over 10 years. Thank you for that. That's a pretty powerful number.
Yep.
I was there this morning. I just want to speak to how that has become a well-oiled machine. It is just, you go in and it's like you get right to work. But I also wanted to highlight this year, the hours are a little bit different than at least when I served last year. And so I had asked, how can students get these resources if their parents, let's say, can't get there from 12 to 4 or whatever. So it sounds like the leftovers will be deployed to schools and things like that. So if parents reach out to their buildings.
Yes, absolutely. We can help support them through those means as well if they're not available to come on that day. We certainly want to get the supplies and things in the hands of our students that need them. So thank you for that, Carly. I appreciate that.
Lovely to see all those bags pile up and up and up.
Yes,
There's so many.
it certainly is.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I have. Thank you for your time this evening. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
See you on the 5th.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. All right, for recommended actions, we have policy updates from Brenda Albrecht.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Van Zyl, and members of the school board. You have before you this evening 4 policies for review. These were reviewed with our policy committee. I'll begin with policy 901, which is our operational effectiveness policy. This had minor changes, just updating the wording from school board to Board of Education. Would you like me to go through these one by one? Or do you want me to go through all of them right now? And you can ask questions as I go. How would you like me to approach this?
How about one by one and we can ask questions as we go?
Okay, so for 901, that was the only change to that policy.
Okay. Director Thompson, did you have a question about that
No,
one?
I was going to just ask if this was compared to the MSBA version, and so I'm assuming it was.
Yes.
And we're good. So there's nothing other than the Board of Education content.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct.
Can I make one comment? Just, sorry, Kim, I didn't
go
ask
for it.
first. So during the policy committee meeting on last Wednesday, we were going through, the ones that we see here are pretty minor. So we were talking about how we are very backlogged on policies, and we're, even for getting policies passed just for students, to making sure that Brenda's able to get trainings implemented and everything like that, that some of these smaller, minor ones, that we put them out there instead of doing the 2 readings that we discussed. We thought, I can't speak for the entire board, but during that meeting after we had our training, that it would maybe be okay to do that in these types of situations where we just have these smaller ones that maybe have one-word changes that are pretty minor in the scheme of things. But more of the meatier ones, we can, we should definitely have those 2 reviews for sure to discuss. But yeah.
Director Kelleher?
Didn't we already agree that if it's just a name change and no change to it, that it would be put on the consent agenda, which would allow for that?
You're
So I
correct.
think we've already agreed to
Yes,
doing
yeah.
that, so.
And I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
we were clear that that's
Yeah,
kind of the
so-
role, or not kind of, is what we had kind of decided. So then so when we were going through these, we thought that this would be good just to add each time that this happens.
Yeah, because then if they're on the consent agenda, then we've agreed that they don't need a first and second reading.
Right. And if you have questions prior, when we send this out, when Kim sends this out in the board packet, if you have questions, send them to Brenda. She's able to answer your questions. And if we need to pull them out for more discussion at a work session, then we can do that as well. So, sorry for interruption.
No, thank you. Right, 902?
Okay. 902, use of school district facilities and equipment. Updates to this policy include the addition of possible food service fees, consumable fees, or fees for other staff services relevant to the rental of facilities. Language regarding certificate of insurance and minimum liability was updated and moved from item 6 under rules for use of facilities and equipment to item 4, general community use of school facilities. Those were the only changes to that policy.
903?
Right. 903, visitors to school district buildings and sites. Updates to this policy were made to include online students. And that was the only change to this policy.
Director Thompson?
Yeah, does this include when parents want to come visit? Are they considered visitors, or does 903 apply to them? Maybe I'm mistaken. I don't think. The reason I ask is that I think maybe over the past 6-9 months ago, I heard that there were inconsistencies how some parents were able to go in to have lunch with their kids, and in some schools, and in others they couldn't. So I wasn't sure if 903 encompasses or incorporates that kind of content where. Yeah, so I'll pause here.
Dr. Van Zyl?
You're probably talking about elementary schools. Those, from my understanding, all those elementary administrators have met, and my discussion with them last year was they need to take a look at ways that they can allow folks to come back in, but during COVID and due to the number of lack of seats in our cafeteria, none of them said they were allowing any parents to come in to have lunch with students last year. So if somebody was doing that, they were doing against what their group had agreed to do, because they all, for consistency, were trying to be fair and equitable, saying, we don't have enough space. You only think one or two parents wouldn't be that big of a deal, but their spaces in the cafeterias are pretty full. So they had agreed to not do that, and to my understanding, that's still the same procedure they're using this year.
So, again, so to confirm, parents are not allowed, well, let me rephrase that, that's not good. There isn't capacity for parents in elementary school for lunch.
For lunchtime, yeah, the administrators in those buildings have asked parents not to come and have lunch, but they've asked if they want to volunteer in other ways. They're trying to work with them to get them in the building to do those other things, like read with a student or come help a teacher with some activity or something that they want to do.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, so our last policy would be 905, correct?
Yes. Yes. 905, this is our advertising policy, and updates to this policy were made to include electronic media, such as scoreboards for advertising. And that was the only change to this policy.
Okay. Any questions relating to that policy? Director Thompson?
Can I make an assumption that this policy 905 overrides or supersedes, like, for example, the Dome? I believe the Dome has contractual rights to do advertising there. So just want to make sure I understand the legal.
Bill, if you want to address that, but my understanding would be that that's in the contract, that specific language, so that contractual language would take precedent over this particular policy for that individual item. Is that accurate, Bill?
Yeah, inside the Dome, they have authority to do advertising as long as it falls within our advertising.
So inside the Dome, for those who do, because Bill's not on the mic, for inside the Dome, they have to follow the policy that's there. The biggest component difference on the Dome is if the city were to allow them, or if the company wanted to, they could put their advertising, I think, on the outside of the Dome. I think that's the biggest difference. All the other interior stuff, from what Bill just shared, has to follow within those guidelines.
All right, do we have a motion to approve policy 901, 902, 903, and 905?
I make the motion.
All right, we have a motion by Director Shinley. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Director Lind. Is any further discussion on this item? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. So our next recommended action is an item that we added to the agenda under, would be item B, to appoint the vice chair as the clerk temporarily for this meeting to serve in the action of clerk. Do we have a motion to?
I will make a motion to temporarily assign vice chair to the clerk position for this meeting.
Thank you, Director Kelleher. We have a motion by Director Kelleher. Do we have a second? Second by Director Carly Anderson. Do we have any more discussion on this? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries 6-0. All right, so we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
All right, this will be very quick because most of my thunder was stolen by all the information that they already have shared with you. But hopefully you realize, because sometimes I think people think that education comes to a standstill during the summer. Hopefully you realize that's not the case. Not only do your district office folks, but you have a lot of staff across the district that help support in many different ways our students and community. And that's probably one thing I would echo is that if people are looking for a job, we still have jobs within our district, not only to be teachers, but in support positions. And I know community ed is looking for positions as well, that before and after school programming that's important for our families and our kids. So if somebody listens to this, or if you know somebody, we would encourage you to have them apply. Emily already talked about the new teachers, Ready, Set, Achieve. I can tell you that is an outstanding event, only having been here 1 year, but there's not another community that I've been in that has something like that, that's supported the way that it is from our community and our business partners. So thank you to everybody for that. Reminder, all of our staff starts reporting next week in different ways and back to school. Opening session takes place. Y'all toured Pathways today. September 5th, Emily already talked about being our first day of school. And I would hope, I got several bits of feedback from the new weekly update that you're getting in regard to information for you as a board from our executive team, and we'll do nothing but continue to add to that and hopefully update that for you as well. So we're looking to a great year. Hopefully it's not 100 degrees on the first day of school or raining, because we really want kids and families to be able to enjoy that time, and we'll get our staff in here, and from many that I've heard from, they're ready to go. Looking forward to an exciting year, not only with what we do in our classrooms, but what we can do to continue to move the district forward. So any questions for me on anything?
Director Carly Anderson?
I just want to say thank you for the new dashboard that's developing. It feels like we've expressed desire for more information, and you guys are doing an amazing job putting that together. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right, at this time, we will ask for the board to move into closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05 Subdivision 3C to discuss the purchase of a sale or sale of a property. I have a motion to move to closed session. I have a motion by Director Carly Anderson. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second by Director Schindley. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 6-0, and the board will move into closed session.
Thank you.